Ladies and gentlemen, President Trump, in yet another brilliant move, has picked Pam Bondi. This is after Matt Gaetz withdrew his nomination today. Absolutely brilliant. 25D chess, whatever you want to call it. Absolutely amazing. The man is a brilliant strategist, a brilliant political mind. And if you don't understand why, you probably lack knowledge in terms of politics. You might be very intelligent, you might know a lot of things, you might be an expert on certain things, but if you don't understand, if you don't appreciate the brilliance of Donald Trump when it comes to American politics, you could be an imbecile, or you could just lack, an appreciation, understanding of how strategic, brilliant, awesome this man is. Hit subscribe to this channel right now. CNN. Trump picks Pam Bondi for Attorney General after Matt Gaetz withdraws. You will hear the former Attorney General for the state of Florida, the great state of Florida, in a second. Pam Bondi is fantastic. I will explain why this is absolutely phenomenal. I will explain why this is just genius, brilliant. Number one, and hit subscribe to this channel. You'll hear Pam Bondi in a second. Matt Gaetz could have been a strategy. Picking Matt Gaetz might have been a deliberate attempt by President Trump, the 47th president of the United States of America, who won the popular vote, every battleground state, the Senate, the House of Representatives, obviously the presidency, and he has the Supreme Court. So, and he has virtually 100% negative media coverage. You can see here from the Times, Trump wants Pam Bondi to be Attorney General. No, he will get Pam Bondi. Look, I think that he still could have gotten Matt Gaetz through the Senate. They did not convict Matt Gaetz of anything. They did not convict him. There was not evidence to convict. They would have done so. Matt Gaetz was public enemy number 2 after Donald Trump for Democrats. Merrick Garland was held in contempt of Congress while he deliberately indicted Trump, while his Department of Justice indicted Trump, wanted to convict Trump, Biden's direct political rival. He was held in contempt of Congress for withholding information from the congressional Republicans regarding Biden's taped interview where he hid classified data, where he gave explanations as to why he had classified data as a senator. Before he was vice president, he didn't have the power to declassify. Trump always had the power to declassify as president. He could declassify virtually anything. He should never have been indicted. It was Biden and possibly Hunter who broke numerous laws, in addition to Clinton, who had private servers with classified data. It's impossible to transfer classified data onto servers. It's not even possible from a cybersecurity perspective. And as Secretary of State or as Senator, neither of them had the ability to declassify. The Supreme Court gave Trump, as president, the ability to declassify anything. But that's just one of the absurd, nonsensical attempts at going after the direct political rivals. But number one, and you'll hear Pam Bondi in a second, hit subscribe to this channel, to my super chat, thank you. This is absolutely a genius move. He could have nominated Matt Gaetz simply to frighten the entire establishment, and then nominated Pam Bondi, who is perfect for the job. Absolutely perfect. She is as passionate, intense, awesome, loyal to the Constitution and to the rule of law, not just Trump. Merrick Garland was not loyal to the rule of law. He was loyal to the Democratic Party. He was held in contempt of Congress. Eric Holder was held in contempt of Congress. And then you get media saying, Trump was only nominating loyalists. Wait till the Attorney General gets held in contempt of Congress for withholding information from congressional Democrats. Okay, then you can talk. You have 2 Democrats who were held in contempt of Congress. But anyway, this could have been a deliberate attempt by President Trump in the most genius, brilliant move possible. And let's just get started. We'll talk about how awesome this is, but let's just get started right here. So she was part of the legal team defending Trump against a phony, absurd impeachment.
President Trump has amassed a powerful legal team to defend him in the upcoming impeachment trial, and tonight the fight back begins. Joining me now is one member of that team, special advisor to the president and former Florida Attorney General Pam Bondi. All right, good evening, Pam. Thank you so much for being here. I want to start before I get into the answer that was filed this evening, in fact, of the president in response to the impeachment statement of the House. You've got Adam Schiff, who now is one of the House managers, they call him. I mean, really a prosecutor.
If anyone is going to start a special counsel to potentially indict the new California senator or other Democrats who lied under oath, allegedly committed perjury, okay? Perjury, the same thing that, well, we can go on forever, the double standard, but numerous Democrats lied under oath. Numerous Democrats, including Schiff and others, stated things that were not true, categorically false. 18 U.S. Code 371 is a statute that if you know something to be false and you still continue utilizing your position within the U.S. government, you can be indicted and convicted and imprisoned. That's what they tried to use against Trump, although Trump always believes, still to this day, that he was railroaded like Bernie Sanders was in 2016, 4 years ago. But let's continue. Listen to Pam Bondi. She's fantastic.
I mean, do they do that with a straight face? I mean, this guy lies every time he opens his mouth. I mean, you ran prosecutions in the state of Florida. I mean, isn't it a little bizarre for this guy, who should be a witness to begin with, let alone, recuse himself, to be in charge of this?
Oh, we very well may call him as a witness if we ultimately have witnesses. So don't discount that yet. Janine, remember what he does. He starts off in his opening arguments lying about the phone call with President Zelensky. It was really unreal. Just flat out lying about the transcript of that phone call. Then what does he do, Janine? He says he's no idea who the whistleblower is, no contact with the whistleblower. And then what do we find out? His team had been basically coaching the whistleblower, who's not a real whistleblower, of course, by the way.
Yes.
The informant, the leaker. And now this is the guy who's going to come over and present the case to the United States Senate. The guy who said he had all kinds of crimes, and where are the crimes?
And not only that, he had the evidence on Russia collusion. He had more evidence than Bob Mueller did. I mean, I can't believe they made him a House manager, did it with a straight face. But I really want to talk about this answer of the president, and it is a 7-pager, and I've read it all. And I think that it is fascinating, because it's very clear that it's not only the president's response is that they're trying to change 2016, they're trying to impact 2020, and they don't have a right to do that. But the one that I thought was most interesting, and as a lawyer, obviously, you get it, is that it is factually insufficient on its face, these articles of impeachment, since they don't establish a crime. So how can you actually impeach for a non-crime or something that isn't a violation of the Constitution?
That's exactly right, Janine. They've had this reckless obsession with impeaching President Trump from before he was even sworn into office. And it's continued on and on. And now, as I said earlier, Schiff said they have all these crimes. absolutely nothing. They have not charged the president with any crime because the president did nothing wrong. There was no crime. The transcript of that phone call speaks for itself. So yes, it's insufficient on its face, on the merits, and yet they're sending this basic trash over to the U.S. Senate. And, you know, Senate's a lot smarter than that. And especially with Adam Schiff presenting, bring it on, because we're ready to go.
Well, and also they say that following.
So this is your new Attorney General, ladies and gentlemen. She's fantastic. She's as passionate. Actually, she's better than Matt Gaetz. I thought I was a bit upset. I have to say, disappointed when he resigned. Withdrew his nomination. I said, oh, here we go again. And I knew Trump would pick another pick. I was hoping it wouldn't be, you know, I was just fearful that we would start this whole thing over again. The same thing that happened in his first administration. What the genius, amazing political strategy and maneuvering is that he might very well have picked Gaetz deliberately, simply to pave the way for Pam Bondi, which would have been absolute brilliance. And she's a former attorney general for the state of Florida. She's passionate regarding the rule of law. What Democrats did was trample upon and tarnish the rule of law, rip it to shreds just to get Trump, and he got the popular vote. Every single thing Democrats did to try to ruin Trump, it didn't work. Nothing worked, and it only made him stronger. Now he has Pam Bondi, and again, I think that he could have gotten Matt Gaetz through the Senate. It would have been a whole bunch of, it would have been like the Brett Kavanaugh confirmation, no direct evidence, just essentially hearsay and gossip. But she doesn't have that baggage, and she also has the experience of being an attorney general of Florida. And she knows all the crimes committed against Trump, and she knows all the players who committed those crimes. I mean, you can't get any better. And then in terms of optics, Democrats will have to go after and try to tarnish this accomplished, eloquent woman. And it's like, again, the Democratic Party, they claim to stand for values, but it's just about, if you're a liberal ideologue, they won't go after you. So you could be of any background, of any any characteristic, but if you are not a liberal Democrat, they will go after you. They went after Herschel Walker. We can go on forever. Okay, pick a person of color who is conservative. How do Democrats treat that person? And it's like the Democratic Party is full of the greatest hypocrites you've ever seen in your life. It's not about diversity for Democrats. It's not about diversity. It's about uniformity of thought. And so if you have diversity on the Republican side, they in the most insulting, despicable manner say, "Oh, you're just doing it for optics." It's like, well, no, actually, that whole strategy is the Democratic Party's platform on everything. But anyway, let's continue. Pam Bondi's fantastic. I'm so happy.
Following the disclosure of the 25th phone call, that the president was transparent, and the allegation that he's obstructing Congress by asserting executive privilege, which is recognition of the separation of powers,
right,
is something that every president is entitled to do. So what I was just saying to Senator Mike Rounds earlier was, you know, in any real case where jurisprudence matters, you make a motion to dismiss and end it. But I understand the thinking is you really want to have this heard so that the president can be fully exonerated.
Janine, in the beginning, Judge, you remember the president kept saying he wanted witnesses, he wanted witnesses. If you and I were falsely accused, we would want witnesses too. Yeah. But now this thing has become so flimsy. There's absolutely nothing there in the articles of impeachment. It's an insult to the American people. It certainly is to the president, that I think now we're ready to just put this behind him so he can continue to do all the great things that Kellyanne spoke about earlier for our country that he's continuing to do. It's so great to watch him work non-stop,
right,
despite them trying to derail him and deter him, because it's not going to work. He's a great president, and he's going to keep fighting for the American people for the next 5 years.
Well, in the next 20 seconds, I've got 20 seconds, Pam, what do you think is going to happen in the Senate? Do you think that those senators who are kind of on the edge there, whether it's Romney and Collins, Murkowski, do you think that they're going to seek to have more witnesses, or do you think that's going to die as Mitch McConnell thinks it will?
Judge, I think that they're going to see, especially after opening arguments, maybe before that, when they see truly the lack of evidence that has been brought to them, I think they're all going to do the right thing, and I think they're ready to get back to work too and do the business of the Senate instead of sitting there every day listening to this trash.
Which is not calling witnesses.
How refreshing is it to see Pam Bondi over Merrick Garland, or Eric Holder, or Attorney General Loretta Lynch? These were attorneys generals who deliberately did everything possible to uphold the Democratic Party, whether it was covering up in the most grandiose, overt cybersecurity nightmare of all time. Clinton's servers was a cybersecurity abomination, but they didn't care. They literally transferred top secret intelligence onto secret private servers, which is impossible to do. And they expected the entire world not to ask, well, how did the classified data actually get transferred? It's impossible to do so. Everybody knows this, but nobody cares. Democrats, they will do the most absurd things in plain view and plain sight and get away with it. Then Biden, not only with classified data, mishandling it, might have had it at a university, might have allowed Hunter, according to Ted Cruz, to utilize classified data for business deals, and then they have a laptop full of potential bribery and graft that 50 intel officials lied through their teeth about. Everyone who lied about that might have broken the law and might actually get indicted by Trump's. Do you think Trump is not Bernie Sanders? I was the biggest Bernie Sanders booster on the internet, according to the Huffington Post. I was the unofficial scribe of Sanders' most hardcore voters, according to the Washington Post. Florida Man Bear, thank you. I believe so, 100% Florida Man Bear. She'll go after everyone. But ladies and gentlemen, and I'll get to that more, Florida Man Bear, thank you. To my super chat, thank you. How do you go from Bernie Sanders to Donald Trump? Because you want an anti-war foreign policy. If you don't understand how you go from Bernie Sanders 2016 to Donald Trump, you don't know much about politics. Trump is probably the best classic liberal, or he is an anti-war president. He wants a great economy, so the working class benefits. So if you are a left-leaning Bernie Sanders supporter and you care about the working class, there's no better candidate than Trump. That's how you go from from Bernie Sanders to Trump. Because of an anti-war foreign policy and a great economy. We had record low poverty with Trump. Every communist and socialist in America, who were very wealthy, by the way, many of whom were very wealthy, which is hilarious, should love Trump. But mainly, he stands up for his electorate, for his voters. Unlike Bernie Sanders, who was completely railroaded and then pushed the same Red Scare McCarthy-era nonsense they utilized against Bernie Sanders. Bernie Sanders was cheated in the Democratic primary, just like Joe Biden was. Joe Biden was 10 times worse. It was 10 times worse. Neither of them said anything, but Trump is not going to take it. It's like that song, "We're not going to take it." He doesn't take it. He battles for, he stands up for himself. Donald Trump stands up for himself. Bernie Sanders did not. Joe Biden did not. Democrats don't. They fall in line. And to answer, so that's how you go from Bernie to Trump. And the great thing about Trump is, do you think he's going to allow the people who wronged him, the system that almost ended his life, that ended the life of a firefighter at one of his rallies, that saved his family? You think that Trump is going to allow the most despicable, diabolical human beings to get away with everything they did against him? You think that he's that type of person? I don't think so. I don't think so. He's going to play James Brown, The Big Payback, on endless loop. And Pam Bondi is going to be absolutely phenomenal. Will Bondi go after anybody? We need some consequences. Florida Man Bear, 1,000% she will. 1,000%. Check this out.
Well, and no offense to academics. I went to law school. I loved my con law professor, but we're going to hear a lot of professors this morning, and they're going to opine on what.
I love academics. I love professors. I've had the best professors in my life. Really, I have. I thank God that, at university I went to, and I had the best professors all throughout my life. Fast forward 20 plus years. The professors that were in the impeachment trial were liberal Democrats. The historians that you hear taking a giant poop on Trump are liberal Democrats. Okay, the experts, the wonderful academics, the professors who say that Trump is an authoritarian, these are liberal Democrats making absurd leaps of logic, standing upon their credentials to make the most absurd, nonsensical, completely irrational leap of logic. Okay, Trump is not an authoritarian genius. He signed prison reform legislation. I don't think the authoritarians and despots of the 30s and 40s signed prison reform legislation. Okay? I also don't. He's anti-war. He's anti-invasion. Trump is the last, or the least likely of any modern president to invade any country. Unlike Dick Cheney and Bush and Rumsfeld, who all sided with Harris. The Cheneys voted for Harris. Why do you think that is? Because Trump was the obvious anti-militancy choice.
What the president did, I think you're going to hear a lot of great cross-examination from Republicans talking about their bias to begin with. But you know what? Why do we even need that? And here's the report, okay? This report is 300 pages that the House released. 300 pages. You know what it omits? The words, "I presumed," "I assumed." This is based on hearsay. He told me, she told me. That's all out of this report, and they put it in here as fact. 300 pages. This has been rigged from day one. And, as you know, Maria, Nadler is going to be heading this whole thing up today. And what did we find out about him? 2 years ago in the New York Times, 2 years ago, he said he is best positioned as a scholar to take on President Trump and impeach him. 2 years ago, before any of this junk, and it is junk, came up. It's a sham process. It's been rigged from the beginning. And I can't wait to hear the cross-exam today from our great Republican members.
Well, it's pretty incredible to me, though, that they are moving forward with it based on what you're calling hearsay. I mean, do you have anybody that you've heard from who actually was on the call? I mean, the president released the transcript, and we know what the transcript said. How is this taking such life?
It's taking.
Because Democrats back then, media, when Pam Bondi was representing and defending Trump from day one, media was still powerful and influential. Media was very influential. I remember I had friends who eventually disowned me, telling me, "Oh my God, I mean, how can you like Trump? I mean, there's so much going around with Trump, and it's so much chaos." I'm like, yeah, media is an extension of the Democratic Party. We know this because there's not one Trump supporter at the Washington Post, New York Times, MSNBC, CNN, Vanity Fair, Esquire, The Atlantic, Rolling Stone. Where's the one Trump supporter? He won the popular vote. Can we get one? Can we get one investigative journalist? One. They went after Matt Gaetz. What Hunter was accused of is either the same or even worse, potentially. Can we get one investigative journalist anywhere? But it doesn't happen. So media was influential, and what happened was you had a generation of liberals, and I'll tell you this is very important. Hit subscribe. This is why you should hit subscribe to this channel. I was a liberal Democrat or left, progressive, whatever you want to call it, my whole life up until about 7 years ago. I understand the delusion. I understand the delusional state. And what took place was, after 2 terms of President Obama, the average liberal Democrat or the average leftist or Democrat believed that their ideology would control the future of American politics. But then if you took a closer look, President Obama wasn't that different from Bush, Cheney, and Rumsfeld. 2 sides of the same militant, corporatist, establishment coin. And so then people wanted something very different. And then they chose a populist Republican in Trump who's anti-war, who wants record low poverty, and we have that. We had a great economy with Trump. He focuses on peace deals, not alliances so much, although he kept all the alliances. The alliances were stronger under Trump, if you really want to talk about Cold War politics. And Democrats pretend they're the JFK Cold Warriors. They're the antithesis. You have RFK Jr. with Trump. But the point is, Donald Trump upended a very corrupt system where Democrats thought they would control forever. And suddenly you had liberal Democrats reading for the first time in their life the New York Times or the Washington Post. You have a generation of Democrats in their 40s and 50s who never cared about politics up until 2016. And you have people 80 years ago, the trauma that people who lived 80 or 90 years ago is the Depression. Americans lived through the Depression and said, hey, if you're a Republican, Democrat, who cares? At least we can eat. At least we don't have to, stand in line for food. The greatest trauma of a generation of liberal Democrats now is Trump winning in 2016. Okay? This is like the end of the universe for them. Because they truly thought that they controlled the future of the country. But now Trump won the popular vote, Senate, House, every battleground state. He has the Supreme Court, the presidency. J.D. Vance will go 4 years. Who are they going to go up? Who's going to go up against J.D. Vance? AOC? Please. Be fantastic. Who do they have? Jerry Nadler? Who do they have? Schumer? Pelosi? Who's on deck for Democrats? They have nobody. Harris, who's middle class, born in a middle class household, 5 billion times we heard that. Who do they have to go up? They have nobody. So Democrats thought they controlled the future of American politics, and they found out with Trump that they don't.
Taking life because of people like Adam Schiff, Nancy Pelosi, and Nadler. That's why it's taking life. And they have been intent before our president was even sworn into office, 2 days after he was elected, to impeach him. They've been talking about finding a way to impeach him, and they don't have anything, and they're not going to give up on this, but we're going to fight back, and we know the president did nothing wrong. 2 people were on that call, President Trump and President Zelensky. And what did they both say? There was no quid pro quo.
Right.
The president did nothing wrong. Ukraine didn't even know aid was being withheld, and aid was withheld from many, many countries because of the intense corruption. After President Zelensky was in office for a while, what do we know? The country started cleaning itself up. Parliament took place. He replaced NATO. Maria, you've been talking about all the great things that he's doing in NATO. And to do this when a president is in foreign land, meeting with world leaders, doing some of the most important work he can do for our country, they are holding impeachment hearings. It's outrageous. It should outrage every American. Also that, as you've talked about in the past, USMCA, it's sitting on Nancy Pelosi's desk,
right,
collecting dust. It could bring 176,000 jobs and billions of dollars to our country. USMCA. We could go on.
Yeah.
NDAA.
It seems
everything.
Well, definitely they're leaving a lot on the table, and I think that's what happened when they went home for Thanksgiving. That they faced the wrath of constituents who said, "What are you doing for me? What have you done for me lately? And what have you been working on the last 2 months?" And it's like squat. You don't have USMCA. You don't have the prescription drug plan. I mean, are we ever going to see an infrastructure situation? It appears to me, Pam. Let me get your take on this. That there's a real division within the Democratic Party right now, because I spoke with Congressman Jeff Van Drew from New Jersey about a week ago, and he said, "I'm a no. I'm voting no on impeachment." And there are plenty of other Democrat colleagues of mine, this is Jeff Van Drew saying this, that feel that we're not getting anything done and that we shouldn't go down this road. And earlier, Steve Forbes mentioned Chuck Schumer. Where is Senator Chuck Schumer as all of this? He's sort of hiding under a rock. He doesn't want to. He doesn't want to be anywhere near this. It seems to me there's a major division going on in the Democrats right now with this.
Maria, you're correct. There's a major division, and there should be. First of all, this thing shouldn't even go to a vote. This should be over, finished, done. It should not go to a vote. We all know that. And
isn't she fantastic? As opposed to Merrick Garland, when Matt Gaetz asked Merrick Garland, "Have you communicated with state prosecutors to set up Trump?" He said, "You can go to the Department of Justice Media Relations Board and send a query or email, they just, it's the double speak. These are bureaucrats. Democrats and never Trump Republicans love bureaucrats. Did you help set up and frame Trump? Were you there during that terrible event? Did your government agency try to foment this or that? Do you please go and go to the fax machine and then send a request for information from the Department of Justice." This is Merrick Garland, who almost was Supreme Court Justice. Thank God he wasn't. My God. Held in contempt of Congress. Couldn't even answer simple questions from Matt Gaetz. But this is, Pam Bondi is fantastic. She will definitely get through, okay? There's no allegations here, okay? But I'm a big proponent of no matter what the allegations are, if there's no evidence, there's no charges, you go through with it. Because Democrats work on gossip and hearsay, except when it goes to them. Then they have 50 intelligence officials go to bat for them.
many Democrats, we're hearing that all the time, that there are so many Democrats who aren't happy with this and are not going to vote for it. Their constituents don't want it. They don't want it. They want to be focusing on things that are important to the American people that we just talked about. So, as to the Republicans, we are more unified than ever. I have never seen such great unity within our party, and that's probably one of the...
Well, she's fantastic here, but it was more like the Dave Chappelle show, Unity. And so it wasn't like there was too many Never Trumpers, but she's fantastic. I mean, Pam Bondi is fantastic. She's absolutely fantastic. Let's go. And there is actually, this is her speaking at the Republican National Convention.
We were told to,
which, by the way, actually nominates a nominee. See, the Republican National Convention, not that I care, I don't care about the Republican Party. I like Trump, J.D. Vance, Pam Bondi. I like populist Republicans like Trump who are anti-war. Okay, the moral imperative was to vote for Trump. If you understand the consequences of voting for Harris and Biden, and you still, and you didn't vote for Trump, that was an immoral act. When Democrats say it's moral, it's morality, it is immoral to vote for more wars and endless quagmires and destabilizing foreign policy. It is immoral to vote for Democrats. It was the moral imperative to vote for Trump and Vance. Because a nuclear confrontation, God forbid, could end the entire planet. And Democrats, we know, care so much about the planet. Except not so much when it comes to tribalism and convincing themselves that they're the protagonists of this twisted, delusional fantasy that they're fighting against authoritarians when they actively promote censorship and endless wars. See, Trump wants to end never-ending military quagmires. So does Tulsi Gabbard, who's fantastic. So does J.D. Vance. So does John Radcliffe. So does Rand Paul. Okay? And so to stop endless military quagmires, that's the greatest moral reason to vote for Trump. But if you are a liberal Democrat, you think Trump is an authoritarian, you're okay with the militancy of the Democratic Party, you have a very twisted, warped sense of morality.
Look at Joe Biden as the model of integrity. But when you look at his 47-year career in politics, the people who benefited are his family members, not the American people. Joe says he'll build back better. Yeah, build the Bidens back better.
That was former Florida Attorney General Pam Bondi delivering a withering indictment of the Biden family at the GOP National Convention last night, slamming Joe Biden over pay-to-play conflicts of interest.
By the way, are there any journalists at the Times or the Washington Post or at Vanity Fair, Esquire, the Atlantic? Are there any journalists, reporters, investigative journalists who have investigated Hunter's laptop? How about never? You will never in a million years find an investigative journalist at any of these major publications investigating anything to do with Democrats. Why is that? It's almost as if these publications are like newsletters of the Democratic Party.
Involving Hunter Biden's business dealings in Ukraine and China. Joining me now is Pam Bondi. She serves as Women for Trump co-chair. It's great to have you on, Pam. Boy, you didn't hold back. Is this a preview of what the president will do at the debates?
Well, Liz, thank you for having me on. So happy to be on your show. And, I'm not going to get ahead of the president, but I think the people need to hear answers to these questions. And, we keep saying Joe Biden's staying in his basement, but he really is. We have heard nothing about this man, nor his policies, other than he wants to raise taxes and embrace the policies of the far left. So will President Trump ask him about it? That's up to President Trump, if we can even get the guy to debate us. I think he's going to try to back out of all of the debates because I think he's scared to death. We know nothing about what Joe Biden wants to do as president and everything about what President Trump will do in his second term. He wants to create 10 million jobs in 10 months. It's unbelievable everything that President Trump is doing and will continue to do. He's going to eradicate COVID. He's going to end our reliance on China, which is something, Liz, Joe Biden.
At the Obama State Department, the Obama State Department officials and administration officials were warning Joe Biden, hey, Hunter and you have conflicts of interest here. Your reaction to that, you really did a major takedown of that last night.
Thank you. And actually, we toned it down. I think it was very mild, what I did. And the reason we had to talk about that was if you listen to the Democratic National Convention, all they talked about, Hillary, Bill Clinton, Michelle Obama, that Joe Biden will restore integrity to the White House, how ethical he is versus...
Joe Biden will restore integrity to the White House. This was 4 years ago. And he will restore integrity to the White House until he's ousted and removed, like, yesterday's old news or whatever, like a used car or like a new car after, trading in a used car. And he wins his primary, by the way. Not that they care. That's one of the reasons they will continue to lose presidential contests. They don't even have a functioning primary. Why even have, if you're the Democratic Party, why even have a convention? Just pick somebody, anybody, and have them speak, in an empty room, and that's it. And Democrats will be fine with that. They don't, all this nonsense at the end of the day, remove the fanfare. What do you have? They just pick somebody, and it doesn't matter whether that person wins a primary or not. They railroaded Bernie Sanders. They did a million times worse to Biden. What they did to Biden was demonic. And then Biden returned the favor. Biden said, hey, man, you want to mess with me, man? Cornflakes couldn't mess with me, man. And you know what, man? I'm going to put a Make America Great Again hat on, man. And Jill is going to wear a Make America Great Again red dress, man. And we'll see who wins in the end, man. Oh, Trump won every battleground state. And he won the popular vote, man. He shouldn't have messed with cornflakes. Messed with me years back, and now you try to mess with me. Okay, we'll see what happens. So Biden, they removed Biden. He did everything possible to just upend them, and it worked. It worked for Trump, thank God. But what Democrats did, what did they think Biden was going to do? Just simply fall in line after they anointed him and catapulted him that weekend at Bernie style into the White House? He's still somewhat functioning. Whatever is left there was like, hey, man, this isn't fair, man.
Donald Trump. And, what they said about Joe Biden is just not true. Hunter Biden was not a good person dealing with the Ukraine, nor with China. And yet there was a lot we didn't talk about. I toned it down a lot. Again, Chris Hines was his business.
If you're a Democrat and you are, oh my God, indignant over Matt Gaetz's allegations, okay, not only are there allegations with Hunter, but there's a laptop. There's no Gaetz laptop. Big difference.
Business partner. That's John Kerry's stepson. Chris Hines and Devin Archer, who was Hunter Biden to do it, and they still did it. Spoken about it himself, and he said he was planning on calling Hunter Biden as a.
So this is okay. So this is amazing. She's been going after Hunter and Joe, and that's not even. The special counsels will focus on Schiff, not so much. Maybe somewhat Biden and Hunter, but it'll be Schiff. It'll be former officials that set up and framed Trump, and the special counsels I think will work very quickly. They might not even do special. They might indict people the second. They might indict people January 20th. Trump is sworn in, 47th president. God bless him. Thank God. God bless America. January 21st. January 21st, 22nd. They might just have like 30 indictments. I'm joking. I'm being facetious. Man, maybe not. But it won't take long because John Radcliffe is at Central Intelligence. You have Pam Bondi now. And I think you could have gotten through Matt Gaetz. There was no charges. But Pam Bondi, I have a hard time imagining Lisa Murkowski or Susan Collins opposing Pam Bondi. Okay? Or even Mitch McConnell. So, and then you have the attorney, the Federal Bureau of Investigation pick upcoming, which has to be good. It must be good.
Now, Congressman Nunes is weighing his legal options, rightfully so. Here with reaction, former Florida Attorney General Pam Bondi, Florida Congressman Matt Gaetz. Pam, I'll go to you and your legal expertise.
This interview has new meaning today, my God. You have the first Attorney General pick, and then you have a second, the actual pick. I think what Trump did was tell the world, hey, let's go Matt Gaetz, let's see what happens. And media was like, we have investigations. We have investigative journalism. the same journalism that we didn't do with Hunter and Joe and the Clintons and all the Democrats, the same journalism we would never engage with Democrats, we've engaged with Matt Gaetz. And somebody said this and that. And there's a report. And Venmo, oh, that's a good one. Venmo is a good one, too. Why didn't Merrick Garland use the Venmo accounts to imprison Matt Gaetz? Well, probably because there's no evidence there, but okay. But now you have Pam Bondi, who's fantastic. I think that was brilliant of Trump. I think it's probably his strategy all along.
Got the phone records from what? The phone company is spying on a member, on the president's lawyer. Seriously, and on a journalist?
He needs to tread very carefully. Right, attorney-client privilege, what he's doing. And, that's why today in the White House, we wrote a letter, Pat Cipollone wrote a letter to Nadler saying that Nancy Pelosi has already predetermined guilt. She's ordered them to go ahead with articles of impeachment. So why in the world would we participate in any of this sham? They need to drop it now. But if they don't, we wrote in our letter, you know what? If you don't do it fast, get it to the Senate where we can have a fair trial, because you know who we want to call? Adam Schiff. We want to call the whistleblower, and we want to call Hunter Biden. And don't you find it interesting, Sean, that Adam Schiff won't even be presenting his report? He's having the lawyer, the counsel do it instead of him. Wonder why he doesn't want to testify. Ken Starr presented his report, but Adam Schiff sure doesn't want to present his. But if this goes to the Senate, it shouldn't ever go there. We want to hear from Adam Schiff.
Matt Gaetz, this is very disturbing to me. The president's lawyer, a fellow member of Congress, and a reporter. That would, and the phone companies cooperated. I have a problem with all of that. Do you think there's a problem?
I do. Sean, it was just yesterday, though, that you and I were speaking about our mutual love for the people of Pensacola. And I just wanted to say that our hearts are breaking now as our service members are dealing with this tragic act of violence that occurred in my community, a community.
By the way, let me echo those remarks, Congressman. And I saw
integrity people that I have ever seen in public life dealt out of the critical work that is before us. I think it's because Adam Schiff knows that as a consequence of his lies, as a consequence of conducting most of this in the bunker of the basement of the Capitol, he has no credibility. So Democrats are looking for maybe a lawyer or a staff member with more credibility than Schiff. When it comes to these phone records, you're right. There is a trampling of rights here that goes far beyond the Trump presidency. It speaks to our separation of powers, our civil liberties, and Democrats used to claim they were the party of civil liberties. I guess that was until Donald Trump got elected, because they will do anything to tear apart this great president.
Liberals used to be anti-war. Liberals used to be anti-censorship. They're the opposite now.
So what?
So Pam Bondi is fantastic. Look, you need somebody who is just enough establishment with the correct amount, the right amount of anti-establishment or populist or Trump viewpoint on politics. Okay. The Trump viewpoint on politics used to be known as the liberal viewpoint on politics. Okay. He was accused of things he didn't do. Liberals used to despise McCarthy-era politics. Okay, the Red Scare, McCarthy-era Republican type of politics. What happened was the Bush, Cheney, and Rumsfeld Republicans, the Lincoln Project people, embedded themselves within the Democratic Party, and then the Democrats adopted all their failed strategies, which is fantastic for Trump, and nobody bought it.
Former Florida Attorney General Pam Bondi joins me now. Welcome back, Ms. Bondi. What's your reading of the Trump trial and Michael Cohen's testimony?
Well, you have to remember Michael Cohen is a convicted felon, a convicted liar, and he gave discredited testimony in court, and the jury.
So Michael Cohen, Adam Schiff, you have anyone associated with the state prosecutions of Trump who communicated with Merrick Garland or Biden's administration. You have former officials from 8 years ago that set up and framed Trump. Trump knows that had he not turned his head that day, the day that a firefighter his life was ended, saving his family's life, Trump knows had he not turned his head that day, he wouldn't be here. So do you think that he's messing around now? If the one great thing about Trump that Bernie Sanders never had, that even Biden had a little of it. Biden had a little more, stones / spine than Bernie, who just rolled over and Kremlin, if you're trying to help me. Because they said that the Kremlin helped Bernie Sanders, and he then believed it also, pretended to believe it. Oh, after, by the way, they railroaded him. Oh, yeah, I don't want your help anymore, Vladimir. I was told that there was an intelligence report that the Kremlin tried to help far-left Bernie Sanders supporters. So, Kremlin, if you're listening, I don't want your help. He literally said something like that. It was so pathetic. Whereas Trump is like, at least Biden kind of fought back a little and said, oh, man, you mess with cornflakes, man, you mess with me. You should have seen what I did to cornflakes, and now you want to mess with me? Okay, man. Okay, man, we'll see what happens, man. And then popular vote Trump, every battleground state. They removed Biden. At least he fought back a little bit. But Trump, you think Trump's going to just... Trump is this... This is like, chef's kiss. This is 4 years of chef's kiss with Trump.
See that, and they're going to be told, Stuart, in a jury instruction, if it makes it that far, that if you believe anything that a witness said isn't true, you can disregard their entire testimony. That's a standard jury instruction.
Hold on a second.
So I think so far he's failed miserably.
You're saying if he makes it that far, you mean the trial could end suddenly by the judge?
Trial, yes,
could end it.
The judge could end it by a directed verdict. That's what the defense attorney.
And she's so right. And the judge, like I've been telling you, the verdict is going to be overturned. Nothing they ever did to Trump works because he's not like Bill Clinton, who had, and look, all Bill Clinton had to do was say, oh, you know what? Things got, a little bit heated. And it happened in the Oval Office. That's all he had to say. Instead, what is? Oh no, this is oh no, what is? I never had relations. Well, all he had to say was he did, and it would have been done with. See, Democrats actually do commit what they're accused of committing. Trump did not. Trump doesn't have a laptop. He doesn't have servers. He wasn't in the Oval Office. Okay. And he's accused in a civil defamation case. We can go on forever. If you understand the nuance or the context of all the absurd leaps of logic against Trump, they have nothing on the man. They have nothing.
Attorneys will be seeking. And, Stuart, I believe they've committed reversible error every single step of this trial, beginning with jury selection. As a career prosecutor, they've let in so much evidence that should not have been admitted into this trial. But also, they did not prove their case. Not one single witness, not even Michael Cohen, who was, by the way, Donald Trump's lawyer, violated attorney-client privilege, admitted that President Trump did anything wrong. No one has in this trial so far. It should be a directed verdict. However, the way this judge has been ruling the entire trial.
Can you imagine being Michael Cohen now? With Trump and Pam Bondi? Pam Bondi's better than Matt Gaetz. She's better than Matt Gaetz. And I like Matt Gaetz. The only person better would be Rudy Giuliani. Oh my God, please, as Federal Bureau of Investigation Director, please, Trump, just for the amusement, please. Oh my God, talk about a chef's kiss. Oh, Could you imagine Rudy Giuliani and then the Democrats be like, no, and every never Trump would be like, no, and then he'll pick, I hope it's Cash. I really hope it's him. I love him. The Federal Bureau of Investigation director will be fantastic, because you imagine being all these people who were celebrated, everyone who went after Trump, everyone, Avenatti, the former Attorney General of New York, he had to resign, all these bureau agents, federal officials, oh my God, the prosecutor in Atlanta, oh my God, it's an endless list. I mean, you'd have a better chance enjoying yourself in a haunted graveyard or a haunted house on top of a graveyard, built on top of an ancient graveyard, than going after Trump. It just doesn't ever work, but they still go. They're still trying to get Trump on something.
I don't know if he'll do that. It should be a directed verdict. It should never, ever get to a jury, Stuart.
Do you think Trump should testify himself?
Absolutely not. I know he wants to.
I never had relations with Horseface. I can't do a Trump. Oh my God, it hurts my throat if I do a Trump. Horseface, not the best.
To testify. He's made that very clear, but the state has not proven their case. I don't think he should testify. I don't think they need to put on any witnesses. That's the argument if it makes it to a jury. I don't think it should again, but that they haven't proven their case against him. No, he has the absolute right not to testify. I don't think he should, not even close. I know he wants to, so let's hope his lawyers convince him not to, because he does not need to in this case.
Hunter Biden's gun trial.
The best part of the New York conviction was when Trump every single day spoke to media in these press conferences, and he's at the end of the press conference, he'd be like, and then I have to go back to the icebox. I got to go back to the icebox. He called the courtroom the icebox because all of these liberal Democratic Party judges had the air conditioning at like meat locker, temperature. So he would call the courts the ice boxes. I have to go back to the ice box. Again, it's so hilarious. It's so funny. He's actually funnier than modern day comedians. He really is. Anyway, hit subscribe to this channel. God bless you all. This is a great day, ladies and gentlemen. This is a great day. I'm telling you, I was a little concerned. And I was like kind of disappointed. But now it's like, this is amazing. She's the best pick possible. Anyway, God bless you. Have a great evening. Thank you, everybody. I'll see you tomorrow. Hit subscribe.